Okay, I am going to explain today the IELTS exam for, I'm assuming, some students who are thinking of taking the IELTS exam soon, or they have taken it once and they would like to get some more information. So the IELTS itself is short or abbreviation, اختصار, in the International Language Testing System. So IELTS stands for International Language Testing System. And the reason for it is to access language ability of the students who want to take the IELTS for studying or for work. Because the English is going to be the language of communication in these countries. Now, this exam is recognized worldwide by professionals, by the immigration authority, and by government agencies. There are two types of the exam. Two types of the exam. One is academic and one is general. Can you hear me well? So the academic test is for the candidates who are interested in studying or doing their PhD or master's degree, and sometimes for joining a job. The general training is for people who would like to apply for a certain type of jobs or for immigration and traveling to another country. يعني الأكاديمي للدراسة وبعض الوظائف، والجنرال هو للإميجريشن وبعض الوظائف. Now, this is the test format. It's listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Now, I'm just going to go back to make sure that you guys can hear me, because I can't see your chat. Good. You can hear me. So we'll go back to the presentation. So the test format, the test is designed to test 4 different skills. They want to make sure that you are able to understand what you're listening. You are able to read and answer questions. You are able to write and to speak in English. There is no difference in the academic and the general except for the writing part, and I will explain that later. So the listening exam is 4 sections, and they are 40 items and 30 minutes. You have 30 minutes to complete, 40 questions, and the last 10 minutes is to actually copy your answers to the answer sheet if you are taking the physical exam and not taking the computerized one. The academic reading is going to be 3 sections. That means 3 readings, 3 texts, or 3 passages. And there will be also a total of 40 questions, and the time allowed is 60 minutes. The academic writing is 2 tasks, 2 writing, and here where comes the difference between the academic and the general. The academic one, the 2 tasks are different. One of them is different than the general. I will explain that later. One of the writing is 150 words and one is 250 words. So you have two writings to do. But combined, the time allowed is 60 minutes. ساعة واحدة. The speaking exam takes about 10 to 15 or 11 to 14 minutes. So the first three tests, which is the listening, reading, and writing, they all come in the same time at the same day. There is no break in between. So it's one test. We'll start with the listening. You finish, you will have the reading. You finish, you have the writing. Now for the speaking module, the speaking test usually is taken in the test center, maybe a day before, a day after, the same day. They will send you whenever there is an examiner available. So don't expect it to be in the same day, but if it is, you're lucky. Now, for the listening, there are different types of questions that comes in the exam. There are multiple choice, معناها اختياري, A, B, C, D. Short answer questions, it means you will put an answer yourself, you will write it down. Sentence completion, that means املأ الفراغات. There is a space in the middle and you listen and you're filling that space. There are notes, summary, diagram, flow, that means it's a picture. There is a surah موجودة and you have to complete. Labeling a diagram, which is numbered parts, معناها there will be a photo of a map or a diagram of a machine and you have to put the labels, the names, classification, put things in order, and matching information. There are some difficulties in the listening exam. First of all, it's only played once. You will listen to it once. هتسمع الامتحان مرة واحدة. The time given to read the question is too short. They give you 30 seconds to read 10 questions quickly. And you have to give the answers. Also the answers, when the tape is running, the answers come quickly. So you have to really pay attention and know what you're doing. For example, this is the summary completion. You will have a couple of sentences and there is a blank, فراغ. You have to fill in the answers while you're listening to the exam. Now, when they give you a minute or a few seconds to read, you have to make sure you are analyzing these gaps. And you have to predict, يعني تتوقع الإجابات. So, for example, when I read students study blank during each module, it means what comes after study. لأنه study is a verb. I have to know the parts of speech. قواعد الجملة. After the verb here, it should be an adverb. So I'm putting a question mark because this is a guess. You're predicting. أنت بتتخيل أو بتتوقع إنه what comes after this verb is going to be an adverb. So when you're listening to the tape, you're listening to the adverb. An adverb means how is the verb done? يعني they study in which manner, in which way. So they study some adverb during each module. وهكذا. When you look at the rest of the gaps, you have to figure out. So here we have how long time is going to come. I have to listen for time. Adjective, there will be something to describe how long, also time. A noun, they work on something, a project, homework, classwork, in depth. So you have to make sure that when you're given time to check the questions, do your predictions at that time so you know what you're listening for. So you can underline the words that will give you the answer here, like study, each model, very. After very, definitely, it's going to be an adjective. The work is very hard, is very long, is very difficult. So that prediction actually would help you find the answer. Okay, so focus on these words that you underlined during the listening. When you're listening, you can't hear everything, but focus on the words that you have underlined yourself because they will give you the answer after them. Sometimes the words come in a different verb. For example, they can say instead of study, they can say learn. So you have to look for paraphrasing or synonyms of words. Make sure you don't stop listening. Don't stay in one question and the tape is running and you will find yourself on question 30 by the time you stop thinking. Reading task. In the reading, you will have questions for multiple choice, short answer questions, sentence completion, notes, summary, diagram, flowchart, table completion, matching headings, yes, no, or not given, or true, false, and not given, classification, matching list, phrases. So there are so many different types of questions that come in the reading. Maybe you won't have all of them, but when you are preparing for the IELTS, you need to make sure you understand these types of questions and how to solve them, how to find the answers for whatever comes your way. Some of the difficulties for the academic reading, the texts are too long. There is not enough time to read. You are given 20 minutes for each text. So for the 3 readings to read and to solve, you have 1 hour. Topics covered in text are unfamiliar. It means it could be something difficult. Maybe you are a doctor, you're not familiar with agriculture. Maybe you are a technician, you're not familiar with education. So sometimes you get different types of topics. And also there is a way for you to make sure that you are familiar with that. Too many unknown words. It could be a very difficult vocabulary. Now, some of these strategies helps you in navigating the text quickly and finding the answer quickly. One of them is skimming and scanning. It means you don't have to read the text. Now, in my education life, while I've been teaching this IELTS, this is 5 years now, I found 2 people that were able to read and understand and solve in that hour. The rest of people that I know, they practice the skimming, they have enough time, and some people, they read all the text, but they don't understand it. So it's a waste of time. So why reading? So there is a technique, there is a strategy called skimming and scanning, and there is predicting content meaning of unknown words. You don't have a dictionary, so what do? You have to predict the meaning from the sentence. Focusing on keywords. Remember we said you can change the verb. The verb could be, for example, if it's in the text study, in the verb, it could be learn. In the text, if it's build, in the question, it could be construct. So you have to make sure that you have, you pay attention to these keywords. Also, ignore the words that you don't know. What are you going to do? If you don't know the meaning, you don't know the meaning. Okay? All the texts in the reading are of general interest. General interest means something that had to do with real life. They're not fake, they're not story. So you don't have to have a specific knowledge of every topic in the world. Just have a general knowledge. So some of the strategies for reading, for example, questions of true, false, and not given. For example, the first one is the growing importance of the middle classes led to an increased demand of dictionaries. Notice here I have underlined middle classes and dictionaries. Now, the question is asking us if this statement is true, is it false, or is not given? According to what? According to the text that I read, to the passage that I read. So not according to what I think. That's very important. So the first thing you will do in this strategy, for example, you underline the keywords. Then you go to the text and you start looking for these words. So this happened in this paragraph. You can find the word dictionaries here, which is underlined in the question, and the word middle class. So I found, by scanning, by looking, I found the 2 keywords. Now, compare the sentence that I need to know if it's true or false with what the text is saying. So read this text, read the passage, and start looking. Are there any words paraphrased? Are there any words changed? So now, questions of true, false, and not given, they go in the same order as the information in the text. Most of the time, if you find an answer in paragraph 1, maybe the next question will be in paragraph 2 or at the end of paragraph 1. So you don't have to go all over the reading and looking. Now, the writing, as we said, there are two tasks. Both tasks have only 60 minutes for you to complete. The first task in academic is describing a visual. They will give you a picture, and that picture could be a map, or it could be a graph. It could also be a process of something, how it works, and you need to describe what's going on in that picture. For the people who are doing the general, this is the difference. They will be writing a letter. There are 3 types of letter in general IELTS. One is formal, one is informal, one is semi-formal. This task is 150 words. You should spend only 20 minutes in it. It should be quick, organized, ready. The second task is an essay. The essay is for both exams, the general and for the academic. Now, for the academic, the topic could be a little bit more challenging than for the general, but it's an essay. Maqala. You have to write 250 words, and it takes about 40 minutes to complete. So both of them should be completed in 60 minutes. Now, how do they mark your writing? Your writing is marked according to 4 criteria. 4 أجزاء أو نقاط بتكون هي طريقة التصحيح للرايتنج. الأولى هي التاسك ريسبونس. تاسك ريسبونس معناها did you understand the topic? Did you write about the topic? Did you explain what is required from you? Coherence and cohesion means, are your paragraphs connected? Is your writing flowing or is all over the place? Lexical resources means the type of vocabulary you have used. Is it appropriate to the topic? And the last criteria is grammatical range and accuracy. They look to see if you are using different types of grammar structure of the sentence. Can you write in simple sentences, complex sentences, compound sentences, and things like that. So these 4 actually gives you the higher band. So this is an example of a topic of writing task 2. So this task here says in some countries, young people are encouraged to work or travel for a year between finishing high school and starting university studies. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages for young people who decide to do this. Now, and they say give reasons and stuff. You have to look for the keywords in the writing. Now I know they're talking about work or travel. They're talking about finishing high school or starting university. They want to know the advantages and disadvantages. So here I know that this essay is advantage, disadvantage, or for and against essay. One more type of the essay is called an opinion essay. Whenever you see an essay ending with a question, to what extent do you agree or disagree? That means here they want you to give your opinion. So you have to make sure you know the types of essays or what kind of writing is required from you. Now, before you start writing, you have to plan. And you need, when you're practicing for the IELTS exam, you need to make sure that your planning is part of the time allowed for the writing. So if you have 60 minutes to write, 5 of these minutes to 10 minutes should be for planning your writing. So your writing will be structured correctly. The words will be chosen correctly. 5 minutes for planning. You can take 5 minutes at the end to check your work. Brainstorming ideas, that means I need 2 minutes just to think, what am I going to write? What is my plan for this writing? How is it going to go? Am I for or against? What is my opinion on this matter? So this has to take a few minutes for you to think. You can write in the question paper too on the side, it doesn't matter, as long as you're not writing it, your ideas on the answer sheet. Organize your ideas. What is going to be in this paragraph? What is going to be in that paragraph? Okay, include any relevant information. Think of something that is an information you read before. Make sure you insert it somewhere in where it goes. In which part exactly are you going to include that statistics, that study, that example? Use a range of linking words. Linking words are words that connect the sentences together. They open the paragraphs. They make your paragraph solid. Example of a linking word is also, however, on the contrary, furthermore. These are called linking words. Use range of vocabulary. Make sure you don't repeat your words, and your grammar structure has to be valid. Make sure you check for your mistakes, your spelling, your grammar at the end. After you write it, read it again for yourself. Take a moment to read. It doesn't matter if you keep scratching as long as you are putting the correct answer. Now, the last component here is the speaking. As we said, the speaking exam could be the same day or it could be in another day. It takes about 14 minutes. It is a one-on-one interaction with the examiner. معناها شخص قدامك بتتكلم معه. There are 3 parts for the speaking. The first part is questions on familiar topics. That's here when they ask you, what's your name? Maybe he will ask you where you come from, what are your hobbies? All these, we call them familiar topics. From the time the examiner asks you, what's your name? You are in the exam. So every question that comes out of his mouth is part of the exam. Part 2 is 2 minutes long. And that's when they give you a topic, موضوع, and they tell you, please speak on this topic. They will give you 1 minute to plan. They will give you some points, and then you have to start speaking about that topic. And part 3, they will ask you 2 or 3 or more questions to discuss the topic that you have spoken about. And it is a little bit in depth, but there are ways for you to learn how to navigate this. There is no way you can memorize. حفظ, no, you have to know how to do this. How they mark your speaking? Fluency. Fluency means if you speak without stopping, يعني بدون long stopping. And lexical resource, again, this is the vocabulary chosen, your grammar, and the way you pronounce the words. These are the do's and don'ts for the speaking. You don't have to include unnecessary details. ما تسرح في الكلام and start adding things that are not important. Don't repeat the words from the question, or you're saying words more than several times. Use different words. Do not make long pauses. That means don't stop too long to think. Stick to the grammar you are confident with. What you should do is you should answer the questions you are being asked. السؤال ورده, but you have to make sure that you are explaining enough. Stay on the topic and give information. Don't venture, don't go to different topics. Make sure you paraphrase and use synonyms. Don't use the same words. زي ما قلنا, study, learn, educate. You have to make sure you know enough words. Talk at length. Demonstrate fluency. قلنا fluency, flow, معناها إنه you are speaking comfortably, you're not making a long stops or long pauses. Use range of grammar structures. استعمل complex sentences. Use simple sentences. Show your ability of using all these structures you know. And make sure that your pronunciation is clear. Okay, so here, this is the end of my presentation. And if you have any questions, please, you can open your mic, or you can put it in the chat.